Hi, welcome to this video. So in this video, we are going to be looking at string to lowercase. So how to convert a string to lowercase in JavaScript. So I'll be giving you a lot of different ways of converting a given string to lowercase. There are multiple ways of doing the same. One of the easiest is to just convert every single character into lowercase, regardless of where it is, right? So this means we'll be converting the first letter in a sentence to lowercase as well, which is something you might not want. So there are some predefined methods that can be used to do that. So let's just look at ways of doing that first, and then we can refine the methods to get exactly what we want. Okay, so let's just get started then. Alright, so basically we're going to be looking at how to convert string to lowercase, and the first method is just going to convert every single character, including the first one, which you might not want happening because generally this is how a sentence is written, right? So first letter is always caps, but let's just look at some ways of doing it. And that the syntax is like this: string dot to lowercase. Now this is a predefined method in JavaScript, which means that it was already created by the guys who created JavaScript. So you can just call this function directly and it would do what you want. And this right here is a variable that contains the string. So the name of the variable comes here, and this is the exact method that you need to use. And make sure that you include L and C as capital letters, because JavaScript, as you know, is case sensitive. Alright, so this syntax will produce a lowercase version of the given string. So everything is going to be converted into lowercase. Now let's look at an example of how that works. So I'm going to create an str string, and I'm going to say hello world, where, there you go, H and W are now capital letters, right? Now if I do a console.log in here of str dot to lowercase, I'm just directly calling it right here, right? So this, calling this right here, it does not change the original str. Okay, so on the other hand, I can say str1 and I can do it like this, in which case the lowercase version of str is now going to be assigned to str1. So if you want to actually change the value of str to the lowercase version, you'd have to reassign. So you'd have to do something like this. So str is equal to str.lowercase, because this does not automatically change the value. So you have to reassign if you want to do that. Now I'm not going to do that actually. So we can have just str1 created, and I'll do a console.log of str1 like this. And if you look at the output right now, let's just call a live server and let's just look at the output right now. I could have done it in here as well, but I don't want to create too many lines of code, and this is just a simple way of getting the point across. See, now H, W, everything has been converted to lowercase, so that was successful. So basically this function call, what it does is it just goes through the entire string and it makes every single letter lowercase. Now let's look at another example where pretty much everything is capital. So I'll just call it capital letters like this. Now let's see what the output is. So if you look at the output right now, see, everything was capital, now everything is small case. So every letter was converted to lowercase. Now what if everything was already small letters? So what if I had something like this? Everything was already small letters. Well, as you probably guessed by now, it just does nothing. So it just keeps it as it is. So there was no change in the string at all, because this function only works on uppercase letters. So that's how you can use JavaScript's built-in function to convert a string completely to lowercase. Now before we move on to the next method though, I want to remind you of a couple of things. Now this is case sensitive, so make sure that L and C are capital letters, and this does not rewrite the value of the string that it's being performed on. Okay, so it just creates another copy with lower letters. Okay, so if you want to rewrite it, you have to reassign like I showed you before, or you can just directly print this out, or you can assign it to a new variable, anything that works for you. All right. And if you'd like to see if that's the case, I'll just show you an example. Because let's say this now says capital letters. Now see console.log of string1, right? I'll do a console.log of str as well, so you can see how, see, str1 is now the lowercase version, but str is still the same. It hasn't been changed at all. Now there is also another predefined method which works exactly the same as the one that we've looked at before. Okay, so it's called toLocaleLowerCase. Okay, so you can also use this method to convert an entire string to lowercase, that is to convert all of its characters to lowercase. Now this is also a predefined JavaScript method, and it works similar to toLowerCase method actually, but the only difference is that this method converts a given string to lowercase based on the user's current locality. So based on the user's current locale. So based on their current language, that is based on the language the program is running, the browser is running in. So it looks at the language settings. So it looks at the language settings of the browser, and it spits out an output based on that. And this shouldn't actually affect your output at all, except for certain languages like Turkish. Now this is because these languages, they conflict with the regular Unicode case mappings. Okay, so you might get different outputs in these cases, but otherwise if you use any other language, then you shouldn't have to face any problems, and the result of this method is going to be the same as the result of this particular method. Okay, so let's just look at an example. Now instead of toLowerCase, I'm going to make it toLocaleLowerCase like this, and if you look at the output right now, see, it's still the same. It hasn't changed at all, because I think my default language is actually English. So in my browser it's set as English, so no problem at all. Now finally, let's look at the last method, which is manual way of achieving the same. So as I always say, it's always good to learn the manual ways of solving problems to understand the problem and the programming language better. Okay, so let's just look at the manual way of converting a string to lowercase, that is without using either the toLowerCase or the toLocaleLowerCase methods. Okay, so no predefined methods. We're just going to create an algorithm and we're going to go from there. Alright, so let's just go ahead and create a mini algorithm, because this is quite an easy problem if you think about it. Now first of all, we are going to create an empty string. Now this string will hold the lowercase string, and we'll be returning this final string at the end of the function. And then we are going to run a for loop through the original string, or the string that we want to get converted. And then we're going to calculate the ASCII value, right, for every character in the string for every iteration. As you know, every single character in JavaScript or any programming language, it has its own ASCII code. So the code, this is how it works. So if it's greater than or equal to 65, then that means that it's actually a uppercase letter. Greater than or equal to 65 and less than or equal to 90, if it's within that range, that means that it's a capital letter. You can just check this out online. You can check for the ASCII code of alphabets, and you'll notice that capital A is actually 65 and capital Z ends at 90. Alright, similarly with small a, it actually goes from 97. So small a is 97 and small b is 98, and so on and so forth. So if it's from 97 to 122, so 97 to 122, if it's within that range, that means it's small letter a to small letter z. Okay, so that's how this works. Basically what I'm going to do is every time it's within the range 65 to 90, if you notice the difference between these, okay, if you notice the difference between the capital letter A and which is 65 and small letter A which is 97, you'll notice that it's 32. So 97 minus 65 is 32. So I'm just going to, so if it's within this range, okay, I'm just going to add 32 to the ASCII code to convert it into small letters. Right, so basically I'm going to change the ASCII code of that particular character so it just gets converted, right? Now, if the letter is a small letter or a special character or something like that, the ASCII code does not fall between 65 to 90. So basically I'm just only going to check if it's between 65 to 90, and only if that's the case, I will add something to it or change it in any way. Now, if it's below 65 or if it's beyond 90, I'm just not going to bother doing anything to it, because small letters and special characters and numbers, all of those things, they don't fall under this range, right? And finally, let's return the string, the new string, that is. That's it. It's a very simple algorithm. So let's just implement it in code right now. Alright, to start with, just like before, let's just declare the string and let's apply a value to this like we've done here. Alright, and also I'm going to create another string str1 and I'm going to make it an empty string because this is going to be the string that's going to hold the value. Now let's create a for loop just like I said before, but the thing is I want to do it all inside of a function, right? So I'm just going to remove this, and right here I'm going to create a function. Alright, so function, I'm going to call this string lower and I'm going to receive the string in here, and let's declare the new string that I want, and let's open our for loop just like I told you before. So let this for loop run from 0 to the length of the string minus 1, right? So this is how it would work. Now in that case, what I would do is I'm going to first get the code. Now every string character, it has the ASCII code, and to access that ASCII code, you have a predefined method called charCode like this, and character code at, and you have to just send the index value of that string so you know what is the character code of that particular character inside of that string. So I'll just send I. So I would be 0 to start with, which would be this, and the character code would be 65, 66, 67, I think 67, and so on and so forth. It's going to be like that. Now once I've gotten that character code, I can start off with my if. Now if this code is greater than or equal to 65, and if the code is less than or equal to 90, which means it's within that range, within the capital letter range, then I'll call string1, alright? And I'll concatenate that with, now what I'm going to do is, I'm just basically going to convert the character code to string format. So you have this string dot from char code method, okay, which basically just gets us the string. So I'm going to add 32 to this. So if the first one was 67, right? So adding 32 to this would give me 99. So it's going to get 99 in here, and it's going to get the actual character of that code 99, which would be small letter C, okay, and it would concatenate that with string1, and similarly it's going to get the next one and next one. So the entire string would now be converted into small letters. Now if that's not the case, what if, this only works if there is a capital letter. What if one of those letters was a small letter? Okay, in that case, what I want to do is, I just want to do same concatenation, but with the exact same value without doing any change. Okay, so I'll just get str of I in that case. So if it was just a small letter, just concatenate it directly. And after the for loop is run, I'll just return str1 like this. Now see, we have str right here. Let's call our function. So console.log of string lower of str like this. And let's look at the output to check what we get. There you go. Perfectly done. It says capital letters and it works exactly the same as I wanted it to work. And if it didn't all have capital letters, then let's see what happens. Something like this. I see. that converts as well. Now comes the part where I want the first part of the string to still be capital letters and the rest of it to be converted. Okay, so now that we know how to convert all the characters of a string to lowercase, let's go a step further and try to do the same for every character except the first character, because generally the first character of a string has to be capitals. Now the premise is that a sentence usually starts with a capital letter, so we are to leave it as it is. So now I'll just make some small changes in here. Now what I'm going to do is, while getting started, I'm going to assign the first character at str of 0 to str1. So it's going to not start with an empty string, it's going to start with the first character of the string that was sent in. Then I'll run this for loop not from 0 but from 1. So the loop only goes through the second character, which is at index 1, to the end of the string as usual. Okay, so it's basically omitting the first character in the iteration. So if the first character is actually a capital letter, then it would just remain a capital letter and it was already assigned to the new string, right? So now why don't we check the output? So let's check the output now. See? Now W and O were also capitals, which was changed, but H was capital, but it was retained as capitals, just like that. Alright, so that's how you do these things. So we've looked at actually 4 different methods of doing the same thing. And I really hope it was helpful. If you like this video, please subscribe, please like the video, and please subscribe because I'll be putting up a lot more videos like this, and I'll also be putting up complete tutorial videos on the topics like JavaScript, React, Angular, and pretty much every front-end technology, and I'll be including back-end technologies as well. So by the time you're watching this video, those videos might already be up. So please go ahead and check them out. Or otherwise, if you're watching it at a time where it's not yet up, I will be putting them up very soon. So there's going to be a lot of videos coming up. Please subscribe and please click on the bell icon so you get notifications whenever I post a new video, because I try to post a lot of videos every week. So at least 3 or 4 videos per week, and sometimes I try to post every day as well. So please press the bell icon so you get any notification as and when I post a new video. So that's it for this particular video. Thank you.